Hi guys, welcome to another Road Pilgrim car review. Today we have the brand new Mercedes-Benz E-Class on review. This is the exclusive line. Maybe there'll be a chance to test drive other variants of the car in the future, but for now we have the exclusive line, which is sort of like the premium line, so to speak. So right off the bat, I think a lot of people are going to be wondering how this car is going to stack up against the latest G65 series. And I think right off the bat I can already tell you, after driving this car for a couple of days, my summary is that the G60 is probably the better driving car in terms of driver dynamics, but this is probably the better packaged car as a whole, most well-rounded. And throughout this review, we are going to show you exactly why we say that. So without any further ado, let's jump into the review. But before we do all that, if you're a driver in Singapore and thinking about selling your used car for the best price possible, be sure to check out the link in the description box below, because through that link, we'll be able to provide you the best possible quote and valuation for used car. In fact, if you need an insurance renewal quote as well, be sure to check out the other link, because we've got some very, very competitive insurance quotes for you to check out. Let's go. Alright, so jumping straight into the review, this is the exterior of the new W214 Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and very, very nice looking car indeed. I wouldn't say the shape is is drastically different from the 213. In fact, I think the overall silhouette feels a lot like the 213. And comparing that to the 5 Series evolution, I think the 5 Series has had a more drastic evolution compared to the E-Class. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you are a driver of the 213 and you're a bit more conservative, you want a new car but you don't really want it to look too different as well, I think this is where the Mercedes styling kind of comes into play and comes into its own. But aside from that, checking out the front fascia, you've got I would say cars today, they kind of look much neater than they used to be. And I think with the 213, Mercedes kind of took the Russian doll styling thing to a very, very high level, meaning almost all their cars kind of look like the same, just different sizes. But as Darren Wong used to say, same sausage, different length, something like that, something to that effect. But I think with the 214, that's kind of the same theme as well, because if you aren't particularly paying attention, you might mistake this for an S-Class even, because it is quite a large car, if I'm being very honest. And in fact, the wheels as well, wheel hubs are huge. These look like they still have a lot of wheel clearance and they still have a lot of rubber on the sides, but these are 20-inch wheels as standard, so not small at all. And if you come down the side, you got flush door handles, which are, I guess, pretty standard in a luxury car today. And then over the rear, you've got very neat rear headlamps, and then of course you've got the triangular design that is representative of, wow, actually from the rear, the 3-pointed star in the headlamps looks really cool. They look amazing actually. Yeah, so it's pretty sleek looking car. I'm going to show you the boot actually, because this has an amazingly large boot. I don't know how many liters there is. I need to go check the brochure again, but this will easily fit a few golf bags side to side without having to remove a driver. So I think this is pretty cool. I haven't tried it for myself, but I can already tell that this is going to be class leading when it comes to golf bag storage. For those of you who don't carry golf bags, then I guess it wouldn't really matter as much, but golf bags are a huge thing in my household, so this is definitely much appreciated. Alright, so that enough said about the exterior. Let's jump inside the car, check out the interior, and see how classy the E-Class is. Alright guys, so welcome to the cabin of the E200, the E-Class. So early on during my introduction, I shared that the E-Class, or the current generation E-Class, is probably one of the most well-packaged luxury sedans in its segment. And I think this is really one of the reasons why the cabin is one of the contributing factors as well, because it's just so nicely put together. It's got a lovely blend of technology and luxury factors. So nothing too modern, but also nothing too gaudy and old. So for example, up front, of course, you've got your massive MBUX screens, you've got your main infotainment touchscreen here, which is of course Apple Carplay and Android Auto compatible. And then of course you've got your Hyperscreen on the passenger side, which is a separate screen altogether that your passenger can use to alter some functions in the car. They can also use it to watch their own shows actually. So all that's pretty cool, but unfortunately I can't show that to you because you need a passenger to be seated before it can activate. Can it activate? Oh no, it can. It can activate. But yeah, you can't actually see it from the camera angle. I'm so sorry about that, but there is a wonderfully beautiful Hyperscreen over there. I think Mercedes-Benz is going to kill me because this is probably one of the selling points of the car. But yeah, aside from these very, very tech-focused features, you've got some very nice bits as well. So apart from the nice, beautiful brown leather that you see all around the car, there's also this nice wood panel that lines the center console. There's like actual wood grain on this. You can feel it. It's not just a plastic piece that's designed with a wood design, so to speak. So a very, very cool piece. I like this very much. And of course this houses the storage areas in the center console. So you've got USB charging port, you've got wireless charging pad, you've got 2 cup holders, and then it closes with such a cool mechanism. Not the smoothest, but very, very premium, And then of course with the center cubby as well, this isn't particularly deep, but it opens with so much refinement and it closes with so much refinement. It's a real pleasure to be in this cabin, and I mean these seats, they look so good. I mean, I think these are probably one of the nicest looking seats I've seen in a while for a luxury sedan. Well selected. They're not too bulky like you had in the 212. They're a lot more sleek, and my wife was commenting the other day as well when she was seated at the back. She said that it's kind of nice that the front seat isn't too bulky, so the rear passenger gets to see a lot of the front, and therefore it kind of feels airy and roomy and great as well. So I think that's a huge plus point. Up front, in front of me, you've got a digital driver's display. Of course, in typical Mercedes fashion, you can toggle between the screens. You've got sport mode, which looks like that. If you rev your car, you can see the RPMs going up. And then, of course, you've got classic as well, which I think it's a little bit more appropriate for a car like that. And then you've got navigation.
You have to be patient.
You've got navigation, which I guess is only for people who get lost all the time. I don't really see why you would need to have your navigation screen up front and center like that. But that's all good. To each his own. One last thing about the car that I really, really like is the fact that they have chosen to stick with traditional aircon vents, which I really appreciate because they're easier to handle, they're easier to adjust while you're driving. But that being said, I think Mercedes-Benz have also taken a lot of effort to kind of embed the aircon vents into this dashboard design. So the central metal beam kind of cuts across all the aircon vents and forms this sort of wave pattern, like this sort of curve pattern on the dashboard. Really, really pleasant. Makes it look very, very premium. So top marks in my books for the E-Class's cabin, and I think it's a huge contributing factor in why the E-Class is probably the best packaged car in its segment. It's also one of the most pricey, but put that aside, it's also one of the most well packaged. If there's one tiny complaint though, is that I realized that this car doesn't have Burmester sound system speakers, which means it has just factory fitted speakers. They're not terrible, they're not good either, they're just kind of like meh. I feel like at the price point and for the demographic that will look at an E-Class, an upgraded sound system would probably have been a little bit of a wiser choice to put in, so that people do not feel a little bit shortchanged. It just feels like one of those things where a sound system is probably one of those things where you wouldn't necessarily go and upgrade it aftermarket, just because it's, you have to spend a lot, you have to rip out your door panels and all that. But at the same time, you want to have a good one, so having it from the factory is probably the way to go. So not a deal breaker, of course. I don't think anybody's going to shun away from the car just because it doesn't have a Burmester sound system. But I think to keep pace with its competitors, you know, even a Lexus will have a Mark Levinson system. Your BMWs probably have a Harman Kardon sound system. So I think this would probably do well with an upgraded sound system as well. But enough about that, let's jump into the back of the car, see how the car is like in the rear, because after all, this is the kind of car that you kind of ferry your passengers in comfort in. So let's go. Alright, so this is the rear of the E-Class, and this driver's seat is in my regular driving position. I'm 175 meters tall, and this is the amount of legroom that I have. So actually pretty big. Yesterday I was asking my wife whether this was better than a 212 in terms of rear legroom. She said it was about the same, but now that I'm seated in the rear, you know, I kind of feel like it's a little bit bigger. I mean, it has to be, right? It's a bigger car altogether, but better space utilization, modern tech, you know, whatever have you. But yes, I would like to confirm that this has a larger legroom than the previous generations. Of course, you know, compared to the 213, there isn't so much of a difference, but to the 212, definitely quite a bit of difference. So excellent legroom here. Headroom is excellent as well. One thing that I will say though is that the seats are a little bit shallow. So if you were to look at where the seats end, you know, there is still a little bit of way to go to where my knee is. So on longer journeys, you know, some under thigh support might be useful in this car. But other than that, it's still a very comfortable place to be in. I actually really like the way the dash looks from here. It feels like a spaceship. It feels very modern, very large, and very atas lah, okay? And speaking about atas, you've got nice little built-in blinds here as well, which for the longest time I've always advocated as one of the most important car features for a family car, especially if you have kids, you know. Actually, you know, it's not just kids for that matter. You know, if you got anybody sitting in the rear, would appreciate having these blinds up. So very nice that it is built in. There we go. And yeah, it's a very nice place to be. Isofix points for car seats as well. Ooh, interesting. So these Isofix points seem to be made of this tiny soft material. So oh wow! So you can kind of push them in, insert your car seat, and not run the risk of losing the Isofix covers. That's very smart. But now the problem is, how do I get it out? Okay, I got it. There we go. Yeah, that's actually pretty clever. Okay. So that's that about the rear seat. You can see I'm very comfortable here. Very tauke feels. But let's jump back into the driver's seat and take the car for a drive and see how the car performs on the road. We've already established that inside the car, the E-Class is one of the best in its segment. Let's see how it does on the road. Alright guys, so we are back in the driver's seat of the E-Class, and we are about to go take it for a drive. But before we do all that, let's get some basic specifications out of the way. So for this E-Class, it's powered by a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and this is good for about 201 horsepower, 320 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 in about 7-ish seconds. So it's actually pretty respectable. I was actually pretty stunned at the torque figures, because I think 320 Newton meters, that feels like a little bit more than you would normally get from a 2-litre turbocharged engine, 4-cylinder engine. You know, it feels like this is a little bit more power than you would expect, and I think perhaps that is down to the mild hybrid technology that's also present in this car. So I think that's something that people can look forward to, and obviously that translates into a better 0 to 100 time. So not necessarily the case where you want to buy an E-Class to kind of gun down the highway, but I guess having that little bit more power is also quite useful in some sense. You know, no one's complaining about the power. But in any case, first thing that you realize when you start driving the E200 is that Obviously, steering weights are one thing. Steering weights have been sort of calibrated for the modern consumer, so no more heavy, tanky steering feels from the past, but now everything feels very light and easy. And I would say that does compromise high-speed driving feel a little bit, but around town, around the city, I would say this does make a lot more sense, a lot more easy to drive. And you know, if you're coming from something older, like say something with the first generation of electric steering or something that's hydraulic, you'll definitely need a little bit of getting used to, because at higher speeds the wheel does feel quite light. But I must say that this really isn't a problem.
Pardon, would you repeat that please?
Sorry, I think I set off the voice commands there. But in any case, yeah, so it's just something you kind of have to get used to, because I think most cars today will kind of display this sort of characteristics. In terms of ride quality, super comfortable car. Suspension's a little bit on the firmer side compared to Mercedes-Benz's of the old, but overall still a very, very comfortable car. I would say that something like a 212 is probably still more comfortable, or perhaps not so much comfortable, but possesses a more traditional feel to a traditional driving feel. But
what is your destination? Please tell me your destination.
Stop.
I haven't found any music data.
Okay, this voice command thing is a little bit proactive. Okay, but in any case, sorry if we digress. So driving feel. You know, if you're coming something, if you're an existing owner of, say, something like a 213, or like this one here, hi 213, like a 213, I think you'll probably be quite used to this kind of road feel. But if you're coming from something like a 212, I think it is quite a different car to drive, if I'm being honest. Not necessarily bad, of course, but you know, it's just something you should know if you are thinking about purchasing a car like that. Now, going straight into the engine and the performance. So, generally speaking, this isn't a car that particularly feels very dynamic to drive, and I think that's all down to the 9-speed gearbox or 9-speed transmission that's in the car. The 9-speed transmission, I feel, does an excellent job in making the ride very, very smooth, because it doesn't hold its revs, shifts you up as quickly as it possibly can. So that's, for one, efficient, helps with efficiency. Secondly, it does make the drive feel a lot more refined. But the downside of that is that because it doesn't hold its revs so much, you do feel like the car is a little bit lazy in a certain sort of way. But I guess that is quite demographic appropriate as well, because I don't think people buy an E200 because they want to gun it down the highway or throw it around some bends. They buy it because it really is the benchmark of a premium luxury sedan, you know, along with its bigger brother, the S-Class. I think the E-Class does an excellent job at portraying or playing that role in this particular segment. So if you were to ask me very honestly if which is the better driving car between the G60 5 Series and this car, I would definitely say the 5 Series does feel a little bit more engaging to drive. But as an overall package, I think the E-Class is still a car that feels like the more complete package, so to speak. And that's a really, really good thing if you are, you know, you're a driver who's not particularly into driving dynamics, but you want the best possible package in the segment. I think the E-Class is a really, really solid one to look for. And you know, going back to my earlier comment about the transmission feeling a little bit lazy as well, you know, that's not to mean that the E-Class isn't capable of performing. You know, in fact, it's got quite a lot of stuff if you really put your foot down. The E-Class does move in quite a purposeful and very driven kind of way. In fact, I don't think anybody could ever call this car sluggish, because it's not. It runs really well. It just does so in a fashion that's a little bit more effortless. So it feels like the car doesn't really want to rev up and doesn't really want to push past a certain RPM. Up at higher speeds, I would say that it's an extremely capable cruiser. I'm very impressed with the car actually, because I think early on today I was driving at about 100-ish, 110 kilometers per hour. RPMs were well below 2000, which is something that I think even a 6-cylinder of the past might not be able to match. I think that could possibly be down to the mild hybrid tech that's also kind of assisting the engine to kind of keep it going. But all in all, I would say that the entire package feels quite seamless. It's pretty impressive. Not able to find a better word for that, but I mean, if you're cruising down the highway, high speeds, you got low RPMs, your car's efficient, it's comfortable, what else is there to ask for? As an entire package, this is one of the most nicely decked out luxury sedans in this segment. If you compare this between the A6, which of course is a very old car, a couple of years in the market already, you compare it between the ES, which is also kind of outgoing car. G60 is probably the closest thing right now, but even then, I would say that this is definitely a lot nicer to be in. So that's that. Yeah. So rounding off the review, if you have any questions about the car that maybe I haven't covered, specific things about the car that you want to know about, please put them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you have found this review useful, or if you have enjoyed the review in any way, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give this video a like, share it with your friends, and we've got new reviews coming out every single week, so it'll be wonderful for you to subscribe and join us for those reviews as well. The channel is growing. It's growing at a very nice pace, and I thank all of you for your support, but we can definitely do better, and with better number of followers, we should be able to get nicer cars on review and have them quicker as well, quicker in the cycle. So I would really appreciate your help if you hit the subscribe button, give us your support. Last but not least, if you're a driver in Singapore and you're thinking about selling your used car for the best price possible or consigning it for the best price possible, be sure to check out the link in the description box, because through those links we'll be able to provide you the best possible insurance quote, best possible car quote, or best price for consignment. So check out that link if you are interested in selling your used car. And if not, insurance renewal quotes, we can do those as well. In fact, we got some of the best side-by-side comparison quotes for you. Please check out that link if you are interested, or if you need an insurance renewal quote this time of the year. If not, as usual, please take care of yourself, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.